Okay, so I don't normally do this at the start of the video, but you need to like and subscribe this shit, because I sat through this so that you do not have to. This is UFC 9, Motor City Madness from Detroit, Michigan, on May 17th, 1996. We have a weak highlight package, and I cannot tell you how disappointed I was. All I've been doing at the start of these reviews is talk about how good the highlights are at the start, like the open of the show. This was not great, but it tried to promote the super fight between Shamrock and Severn II, and believe me, I have thoughts on Shamrock Severn II. So they run through the rest of the card. There is no tournament this time, and I suppose now is as good a time as any to say this was basically just because of political pressure. They were getting so much grief from John McCain and the boys. I don't know why. He must have been a boxing fan, and UFC basically had to then modify their rules to make it appear safer and more like boxing, and therefore worse. This meant no closed fist punches, and I suppose they're anticipating pancrase style slaps, but also no headbutting, or you would be arrested. And spoiler alert, nobody was arrested, but there you go. They were already getting grief in the lead up to and after UFC 8. We kind of touched on that in Puerto Rico there. And after this event here, John McCain was able to pull UFC broadcasts from the pay-per-view providers, which ended up then hurting the buy rates and nearly put them out of business. Look, this must be fucking brutal tonight, right? Let's just see what all the fuss is about. What was so wildly offensive? Well, I have an idea. But that it could be deemed as human cockfighting, as he put it. On this card here from Cobo Arena, we are in Detroit, Michigan. We go to Bruce Beck, who thanks the fans for standing by them in their time of need, and he says that they have no tournament tonight. There's a big crowd here though at Cobo Arena tonight, about 10,000 people, and it looks massive. But yeah, Bruce Beck tells us there's no tournament. He tells us that Mark Schultz will replace Dave Beneteau. And I mean, look, poor Gary Goodridge, he's been preparing for Beneteau, who's now been replaced with an Olympic gold medalist. Like, that's just not ideal. Marco Huas, who was supposed to fight Don Frye, and I tell you what, for 1996, that's a sick match. I can't help but feel we were robbed, to be honest. I got a comment on one of my previous videos that said Marco Huas was like a prototype for the modern fighter. And people like Joe Rogan, they like to push Don Frye in that kind of position. But I actually kind of agree with the man that commented on the video there. And again, I think we were kind of robbed. I would have liked to have seen that Huas and Frye fight. So Jeff Blatnick is in the back. He interviews Dan Severn, who says he plans to take it slow, and whew, boy does he. Ken Shamrock says he wants to control the fight and he plans to stick to his strategy, and whew, boy does he. I mean, get there. We'll get to that soon enough. But we go over the rules of the Octagon, and then we go to our first fight. We have Zane Frazier returning from UFC 1, where he gets stomped out by Kevin Rozier. And we have a returning Cal Worsham, who's coming back from, I believe, getting slimed out by Paul Varlins. He's the one who got hit with that standing 12-6 elbow and tipped over like a fucking Jenga tower. He's back. And so we begin. The fight starts. The two stand at range doing nothing for about 30 seconds before Worsham takes Frazier down into half guard. 100% most certainly pokes Frazier in the eyes, uses headbutts and closed fist punches. I mean, he not only does he not get arrested, he wins the fight and celebrates as though he's won something, right? I can only imagine the prize money for a win here maybe being a few grand. At those early UFC events, winning the first round in a tournament was £1,000, or dollars even, sorry. And he's out here acting like he's fucking won the 50k tournament. Him and the team, I don't know what the fuck's happening here, but they start saying into the camera that one was for you, dad, mum, grandma. What the fuck are you talking about right now? He then has an interview with Jeff Blatnick where he wants the super fight, saying, well, Chemo got the super fight and he was 0-1, completely ignoring the context that his loss was to Royce Gracie, but his performance in that fight meant Royce Gracie was unable to continue, and that was the only tournament he competed in and didn't win. Like, that was Chemo's loss. Your loss was getting slimed out with a fucking standing 12-6 elbow by Varlins, who has since lost 3 times and last stunk the joint out in a boring decision against Joe Moreira. Chemo sold out 13,000 seats in Puerto Rico against Shamrock. I don't think you're that guy, buddy. Good lord. Next up, we get a Brazilian propaganda video where we glaze Royce Gracie again. He is still not coming back, by the way. We talk about Marco Ruas too, another Brazilian fighter. And then one more who was in like a fucking alternate fight. They are scraping the bottom of the barrel here. And then they start talking about Joe Moreira like we didn't just see his last performance. Okay? But we do all of this so that we can introduce this 23-year-old, 6'8" Rafa Carino. And he's up against the man representing the discipline of warrior training, Matt Anderson. Now, my first instinct seeing Mr. Carino here, Mr. Rafa Carino, in the cage is that he is absolutely not 6'8". And then you see this guy who definitely isn't all there mentally, right? At least mentally. And he's the same size as him. So either Anderson is selling himself short, literally, or Carino is a fucking liar who just wanted booked. Look at him standing there next to the cage. Look at that's Big John. That's the back of Big John's head there. This guy is not 6'8", right? Whew. You can feel the nerves from Matt Anderson through the screen as he stands there in the cage, right? So the fight starts and Carino takes down Anderson straight into guard. I don't want to go fucking full bore scorched earth on these guys, right? Because again, they are, well, they claim to be, Carino claims to be a lot of things. They say that they're 23 and 24. I'm not going to give them too much grief, but after several minutes in guard, and we're not even going to get used to that, but we have been used to that. Carino ends up making it to mount, hits Anderson with ground and pound. He's unable to get up, and the fight is, I say unable to get up, he's unable to move from the position. He's not like fucking sparked out KO. But the fight is stopped because Big John doesn't want him taking any more damage, which is fair. And Carino wins. He again celebrates as though he's like won something, and maybe he has. Again, they don't tell you like what the winner gets for these fights. These are just random fights. Before they would say, again, first round in the tournament you get 1,000, next round 5, and I think the winner of the first tournament, it was 50 in the first tournament, but here we are. Next up we have Olympic gold medalist in wrestling Mark Schultz, who is in after Dave Beneteau broke his hand in training. And it was actually Mark Schultz, I don't know if he actually broke his hand, but they were training together and Big Dave broke his hand. And he is coming in to face UFC 8 finalist Big Daddy Goodridge. Great nickname, by the way, and amazing. Crazy stance here from Schultz. This is the most upright looking motherfucker I have ever seen. It's as though he's got a fucking pole shoved up his arse. And he's still able to get a takedown on Goodridge, who is now just holding this position with his left arm, Gracie style, holding on to the gi, like the leg, his trouser leg on the gi. And this is only keeping him on bottom, which only works if you can work from the bottom, and you can't call this what Goodridge is doing, working from the bottom. He isn't Royce Gracie yet, he's an arm wrestler, so I don't know why he's opting to do this. Schultz now just starts ripping body shots from the top as commentary wonder when Big John will stand this up. Schultz moves into side control and Goodridge is now bleeding from the mouth, but Big John stands up halfway through the fight, 6 left to go. These rounds are 12 minutes, I'm sure. So Schultz again, they get stood back up, they come back out, Schultz takes down Goodridge straight into guard, and Goodridge now has a cut next to his eye. So when John stands him up, he does this often where they stop for cuts and such, but stand him up, over, see the doctor, cut on the side of the eye, not over the eye, so he's still allowed to continue. With 2 left, Schultz takes it back to the ground. He ends up in mount, and we stay here until the end of the fight, when Schultz ends the fight with ground and pound. It's as though he kind of half-heartedly looks for a key lock just as a submission attempt, because he doesn't know that there's overtime. So he doesn't know that there's like the potential for an extra 3 rounds. He just thinks, oh, right, okay, 12 minutes, that's us, that's good, I've won. And he has won, to be fair to him, because they do not let Goodridge continue. I think the cut over his eye combined with him, like, I think they just didn't want him taking too much damage because they were already copping a whole lot of heat, and they had to work hard to even get the event taking place to begin with. So I think they were just erring on the side of caution here when they stopped the fight. I didn't think the cut looked that bad. I thought they could have kept going. But then again, I am not the referee. Schultz wins due to doctor stoppage. He doesn't advance to anything, and I still don't know what the fuck these people win. But he spoke very kindly in his post-fight interview, and Goodridge seems to think he has a career in this and that he will be back. I mean, he's 1-1, so I mean, you're on a shaky peg, sir. Next up is Mark Hall versus Koji Kitao, a 200-pound weight difference here. And now we have seen multiple sumo wrestlers from, what's his name, Taylor, Tule, Emmanuel Yarbrough. I don't know exactly if John Matua was a sumo wrestler, but he was a big fat guy. Now we have an actual Yokozuna here, Koji Kitao. And will he be the first sumo wrestler to win? No, absolutely not. Koji takes down Mark Hall, instantly Big John stands it up, and Koji has absolutely shattered his nose. Like, it is leaking badly all over his chest, Mark Hall's chest. There's blood all over the place. And Mark Hall again, like, celebrating like we've done something here. How much fucking money are you getting paid that you're celebrating like this? You didn't even do anything. Koji, again, took down Hall. I don't see any strike here. But in the post-fight interview, Mark Hall saying, oh yeah, I hit Koji with a strike and that broke his nose and ended the fight. No, he didn't, but I guess we'll never know. Our next fight of the evening, thank God, Don Frye's here. Oh my, thank fuck. He is up against Bettish, and I haven't mentioned this already. We have the return of the not pre-fight interview, but the pre-fight comments, and they're pretty worthless. For the most part, they're like 5-second clips, relatively pointless. I asked for them back. I now regret that. They clinch and transition momentum back and forth. This is a really good fight. Frye lands some good shit on the feet, and they go to the ground before standing back up. They start trading again. This fight is all over the place. They go back to the ground, back up. It's hectic. It's really good. And Don Frye gets control on the ground, lands some really good elbows, but the action then starts to slow down. Big John then stands him up, and the doctors have to check on the Brazilian's cut. They let him continue, right? I didn't think the cut was that, but again, they're checking so often right now. But Frye then gets the takedown after the restart into half guard. More elbows from Frye. Big John stands us up. The doctors come in again. Bettish says he wants to go back in for more, and they let him, but at this point he looks so tired. Frye gets control on the ground again. He is hitting knees, elbows, everything, like just brutal stuff. Top of the head, back, everything, anything that Frye can hit, he is hitting. And again, he finishes him off, knees to the top of the head of the grounded opponent, and Big John ends the fight. Good Lord, what a beating he took. Don Frye gets the win, and he says that he anticipated this fight to last 30 to 60 seconds. He speaks very well of his opponent and the team, but I have to say, this fight right here, the Goodridge and Schultz fight was okay, it was fine, it was pretty good. This here saves this card from being the absolute bottom of the barrel worst shit I have ever seen in my entire life. Anybody on this card should be thankful that this fight happened on it, because it is the only thing of redeeming quality that I could recommend for you to watch if you're going to watch anything. If you are following along with me on this journey and you're watching these events too, this fight was the only thing salvageable from this complete fucking bin fire of an event. And trust me, see what after we get to UFC 10, and then I think after UFC 10 we're going to go back and we're going to review, or not review so to speak, but we're going to rank some of these events. We're going to see who the original GOAT was, okay, of UFC, and we're going to look at some of the best fighters, the worst fighters. We're going to have a recap, a celebration of reaching the 10th event, even though we will have watched 11 obviously because of the Ultimate, but we'll count that. See this kind of thing here? This is what I remember for rankings. saving the card, putting on a banger. Thank you, Don Frye. Thank you. And now, the time has arrived for the super fight. Ken Shamrock versus Dan Severn II, the rematch from UFC 6. Dan Severn back in his home state of Michigan. Safe to say he is the crowd favourite here, because when Shamrock comes out, someone in the crowd tries to grab his fucking robe. But we have a 24-minute time limit, right? 24 minutes with a first overtime of 3 minutes and a second overtime of 3 minutes. So in total, it can last up to half an hour. And you already know that it does, because obviously it does. These super fights tend to go this way. And, there's not many left to go. And again, see, when we first started reviewing this, I love the super fight. I love the idea of the super fight. It works so well. And if you can get entertaining fighters in here, it would work so well. But there's so often you just get this thing, this half an hour, absolute nothing burger of a fucking fight. Oh man, Let's just get into this, right? Dan Severn has the fucking cheek to come out here wearing gloves as though he plans on throwing any strikes whatsoever. The rule set has been blamed for this fight being so shit, but we've already seen everybody up and down the card throw closed fist punches, throw headbutts, eye poking, everything. If they can cheat, they're doing it, okay? So fuck it, this is the super fight. Ignore the rule set and just do whatever you want. But Ken Shamrock, right? This is where, besides the fact no one else has observed the rules, this is where it bothers me. Ken Shamrock literally fights Pancrase, right? Where they ban closed fist. So Shamrock is used to these open hand strikes. And again, look, besides the point, again, as another aside, both of these guys are fucking wrestlers. So what are we doing standing up here doing fucking nothing? A few minutes into this fight, the crowd starts chanting bullshit because the two have literally made no contact. Commentary can't even cover for this. They're openly saying, well, folks, nothing is happening. And I'll just say now, fuck these guys. Fuck this matchup. I'm not going to waste your time, right? Because they literally do nothing for 30 minutes. Now, when I say literally, I almost mean that as well. Severn flicks Shamrock, and I think he scratches him. And that's what cuts his face. And commentary goes, oh, Dan Severn scored there. No, he fucking didn't. After 10 minutes, Big John breaks them up and says, here, guys, what the fuck? This is fucking embarrassing. After booing from the crowd, chants of boring, Severn shoots for the leg, can't get control, they stand back up. Severn ends up shooting minutes later. But Shamrock ends up in mount with only 5 left to go. This thing is such bullshit. I'm just going to get into my thoughts on the format of the show while this just plays in the background. I prefer tournament style. It's difficult to care about the individual fights for this event where you don't know who the fighters are and why they're here. Like, with the tournament, even if you don't know these people, the story unfolds over the course of the tournament because all the matches mean something and they all have an effect on the next fight. Here, they're just matches on a card, very boxing, very boring, because there's no rankings, there's no divisions. I enjoyed the Don Frye Bettish fight, and I enjoyed the Goodridge Schultz fight a little less, but it was okay. That's because I was already invested in these guys from the previous tournament. Look, back to the fight. Severn ends up reversing on Shamrock, who was in mount for a brief period, and ends the standard time with some ground and pound. We then go to first overtime, 3 minutes, no contact. Second overtime, 3 minutes, barely any contact. I'll say again, fuck these guys, fuck this fight. The fight ends, the crowd start throwing shit into the octagon because obviously Severn wins by split decision and then challenges Royce Gracie to a fight at UFC 10. Thank fuck that bullshit doesn't happen again. By the way, this card was 2.5 hours long. This is the longest card that there's been, and that is 2.5 hours of my life I cannot get back. I will say Goodridge was fine, right? That fight against Schultz was fine. Frye and Bettish was a good fight, but those two alone cannot like save this card when we eventually rank these events. Like, this is a contender for last place. I'm putting it out there now. And along with the first two events, like, this was fucking putrid. And no tournament really hampered it. Shit super fight. 5 fights that end up being totally meaningless, even if the Frye fight was good. And Goodridge and Schultz. And again, the super fight just doesn't deliver on the title. So next time we will be back for UFC 10, Birmingham, Alabama, and the tournament is back, thank God. We have the return of Don Frye and Gary Goodridge alongside the debut of MMA legend Mark Coleman. It can't possibly be worse than this bin fire, can it? So make sure to subscribe for more content, both old school and modern day. We will be back on this journey through the early days soon enough, but I tell you, it can be a struggle sometimes. Make sure to like the video, comment your own thoughts below, and I will see you all next time.